Hello once again and welcome to another episode of the Looking After Nature podcast, bringing you close to nature and wildlife in Hampshire. My name is Andy Davidson and I'm here with my colleague and fellow worker, Carly. How are you doing, Carly?
Hi Andy, I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
I'm fine. Actually, when I left the house, it was absolutely tipping down, but I can see blue sky at the moment. Let's hope it retains that.
And where are we today, Andy?
Yeah, we're on the River Itchen. When I say on the River Itchen, we're actually standing on a bridge, sitting over a beautiful wooden bridge over the flowing waters.
It is beautiful, and I can see some swans down there. I can see something else, and we've been hearing lots and lots of birds, haven't we?
Yeah, and it's as I say, hopefully we'll see loads more. It's a really good place. Water's always good for seeing birds and things like that.
It is. And why have we come here today?
Well, we've come to meet Abbie, who works on the Rights of Way team, and we're going to talk about walking in the winter, what we can see as we come down along this path here. Hopefully that'll be lots.
Hopefully.
There's actually a rainbow there, look.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, people can't see that on a podcast, but it is very pretty. Right, should we go and find Abbie then?
Yeah, let's go and say hello.
All right.
Hi Abbie, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Andy. How are you?
I'm fine. It's really good to meet you again. Now, we've said we're by the River Itchen here. Can you explain where we are and what we're doing here today?
Yeah, so we are in the parish of Itchen, Stoke and Ovington. And this route is a rather nice route because it's next to the River Itchen, which I know you and Carly have already said. We've come to look at this route today just because it's very interesting for the habitat that's next to it, the types of species that we get here. And it is also a little bit of a management issue for the access team because of it being next to the river due to erosion, dogs going in the water, and yeah.
Now, you said the access team. Do you work for the access team, don't you?
Yeah, so I used to work in the local teams, but I'm now sort of more in a county-wide role. So I'm a countryside access development officer. So I do all sorts of different little projects and things like that.
So is that encouraging people to use our rights of way?
Yeah, so my work will be working with volunteers. It will also be about encouraging people to use the network and working with some of the local access forums as well that we have that sort of help us with our work and give us ideas from the user's perspective.
Now, we're talking about it being rain. I mean, it's clearly, we're well into November now.
Yep.
There's big puddles everywhere. We've got the River Itchen there. There's a ditch it's not a ditch, that's a flowing stream, isn't it?
Yes.
On the other side of the path. So we're sandwiched between water, aren't we?
Yes, so this route is sort of almost on a bank, on a causeway between a backwater and the main River Itchen channel on the left-hand side here, which means it's doubly exposed to water erosion, which has in the past been a problem for us, which we've had to do revetment works on the route, and we do that generally on a yearly basis because it is a continuing, once you get one bit done, there's a next bit to do next year, and it does continue. But it's quite straightforward work to do, but because of the nature of the site, it's a triple SI, so it's highly protected. You've got highly protected species here. You do have to do all the work under licensing, which we have to get. Most of the work that we've done on this route, we've actually done with the help of Sparsholt students as well.
That's Sparsholt Agricultural College?
Yeah, Sparsholt Agricultural College, which I'm an ex-student of, which most of our staff are along the way or had some link to. So we've got them out and they've been doing work. And in fact, I did work on this route as a student, and then I was then here instructing them when they came out. So I've got a bit of an attachment to this route, I'd say.
Now, we said Site of Special Scientific Interest, that's the triple SI, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's because this is a chalk stream.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. Maybe not as clear as it normally is, but it's beautiful. I can see the bottom right away across here with the weed. We should be able to see some fish.
Yeah.
And it differs. I mean, we've had a long period of rain.
Yes.
And other rivers probably would be quite muddy by this point, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So the River Itchen is aquifer fed, which means that the water soaks into the chalk bedrock and then is pumped back out again. So it normally comes out very clear and it comes out mineral rich as well, which is part of the reason. Just in a trout jump out
there, just splash behind us.
Splash behind us. So the route is mineral rich, which is why it has that diversity.
Yeah.
And is quite unusual.
And these chalk streams are quite, well, not unique. There are other places, but because, I mean, clearly we're on the chalk here. There's a lot of chalk in Hampshire.
Yeah.
You've got rivers like the Test and the Itchen and the Meon.
Yeah.
And as you say, the water falls on the land around the headwaters on the downs, and as you say, soaks through the chalk.
Yeah.
And it can take up to 60 years to go through the chalk and come back out again, can't it?
Yeah, it can. And the other thing that makes it a bit unique is not a bit, but very unique, is the fact that there are roughly only about 200 chalk rivers in the whole of the world, and we have about 85% in England, and most of those are in the south of England because of the chalk geology that we have, and we're lucky in Hampshire that we have 3 of them.
Now, you mentioned revetments. Can you explain what they are? Because most people probably know what a revetment is.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So revetment is the work that we do to shore up the bank. Now, there are various types of revetment work that you can do, which can be hard revetment or soft revetment. Now, hard revetment would be something like concrete, walling, something like that.
So there's a bit here, isn't there?
There's a bit here in front of us. Wood boarding as well would be classed as hard revetment, which is what we're looking at here. But soft revetment is the preferable method because it's more nature friendly. So this means that you can either put in hazel faggots, which then you backfill with natural material, and then they collect material as the water goes past, and it creates that natural bank, which is more of a soil rather than that hard concrete type of revetment. And that's much better for wildlife. We also use coir logs as well, which are made out of coconut coir, so the hair on the coconut.
Yeah. That's found in Hampshire, isn't it?
It's not, but it does mean that it's sustainable, and it also means when it breaks down, it's not adding anything to the environment that's plastic or anything like that. So
and it's a byproduct.
It's a byproduct, yeah.
Because you mentioned faggots. I mean, some people, maybe some of the older people, think of faggots and the things of, it's like a burger that's round that you cook, isn't it? It's like a meat thing, but faggot is
faggots.
Yeah, it's a bundle of twigs, isn't it? Basically.
Yes. So it's a byproduct. So when you coppice to hazel coppice, you can use a lot of the thicker material in your garden for growing your beans, and you can also use the really thick stuff for fence posts and things like that. So that all gets used, but then you get the sort of scraggy bits at the end, which normally don't really have a use for.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can basically bind them together, and then you can use them almost like a dead hedge, but within the river.
Yeah. Because we're actually standing by, because there's a bit of concrete. There's a little step down there. There's a bit of board, which is a wooden revetment to hold that bit of stop that eroding out. So what's this little bit here for?
Now, I don't know what that is for, but I imagine it gets used quite a lot by people putting their dogs in. So we quite often, this bit we haven't put in ourselves, I will say that.
Yeah,
but
it's probably quite old, isn't it?
Quite old piece of, probably just been here as part, someone's probably put it in the past as revetment, which we wouldn't do now. But it is quite handy when we do works, we're doing these revetment works, that we put in dog splash areas. So dogs can get in and out of there, because the dogs getting up and down off the bank and into the river causes an awful lot of erosion. Yeah. So now we quite often work those into the work that we're doing, so that there is a place for people to do that isn't going to cause any further damage.
Yeah. Now this is a typical winter path, isn't it? Because it's muddy and wet. I mean, it's quite gravelly in places. Yeah,
so in Hampshire, the normal surface for most rights of way is the natural one that you would find there. So in a lot of cases, that is mud, which does mean that it changes with the season. So in the summer, it's going to be dry and hard and probably easy to walk across in any kind of shoe. Yeah. Whereas as we get through winter, it's going to be susceptible to the rain. Which does mean that you need to be wearing sensible shoes.
Well, this is it. It's just, there's no such thing as the wrong weather, but just the wrong clothing. I've heard somebody say once,
Absolutely. That is definitely the case with rights of way. We do find routes that will get, really susceptible to to bad drainage or to the rain, and those kind of cases would be reported to us through our online reporting system.
Yeah.
And then we can look at them to see whether they need further surfacing or the vegetation cut back so light can get in, or drainage grips added.
But a lot of it is more down to actually sometimes just accepting the fact it's going to be wet in the winter, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be wet in the winter. If you've got the right shoes on, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Nice sturdy boots.
Actually, noticing the difference. Oh, there is a trout. You can see that gravelly patch out there. It's just turned round. Well known for its trout here.
Yes.
Can't tell you whether it's a brown or a rainbow trout. I mean, clearly the sidearm here, because it's like what they call braiding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where the river divides up and there's little channels and they all work together later and stuff like that. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, so in Hampshire, the River Itchen doesn't really get much chance to do the sort of braiding and having those extra channels off because of, the urban nature and the fact that man has sort of adapted the landscape. If it was left natural, then we probably would have quite a few of these kind of backwaters.
Yeah.
On the sides of the main channel. And
actually this is part of what we might term natural flood management these days, because up until recently the best thing, people's response to flooding was get the water off my land as quick as possible.
Yeah.
But that just gives you problems downstream, because you know what's downstream of here is Winchester, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's only a few years ago when there was massive flooding, and but they've done some protection now where they let the water spread out in the meadows above Winchester. Yeah. And that stops it being high levels in Winchester itself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's why, flood meadows, they flood.
Yes.
And they would protect places like Winchester historically, but they are also very good as a habitat and they're good for wildlife. So it's a good solution to kind of balance out nature and those urban areas and what we need.
Yes. Yeah, we're talking about coming into winter, and Carly just spotted a flock of long-tailed tits coming through, and this goldcrest was part of that flock. Because clearly through the summer and spring, these birds, they're on territory, they need to defend it, so they've got enough food to feed their young. Most birds do that. But then that necessity breaks down when you get into the winter. It's more about finding food and avoiding predators. And one way of doing that is plenty of eyes to look out for predators.
Right, okay.
If you're on your own here and you're trying to feed, you're not paying attention to anything else, and a sparrow can probably get you quite quickly. Yeah. Because if you've got a flock of 20 or 30 birds, hopefully one bird will see it while the rest are feeding. So it's good this time of year, and it sounds quite quiet now. There's not much singing now, but suddenly you'll find a big gang of birds coming through. And
safety in numbers.
Safety in numbers, that's it. And quite often, because long-tailed tits are more social, you'll find they've got no sense of space. I saw them on my feeders the other day, and they're packed in. Yeah. Oh, I can hear something else calling out there now. And the core of the flock might be a group of long-tailed tits, but there might be blue tits, great tits, coal tits. I can hear a grey wagtail. Yeah. So coal tits, long-tailed tits, sometimes even woodpeckers, goldcrest, maybe chiffchaffs, and they all join together out of safety. Yeah. Yeah. And actually that grey wagtail, 9 times out of 10 you find them by rivers. Yeah. And they'll nest in hollows under bridges, and they like a little hole, not a hole like a blue tit, but like a crevice to go in. Yeah. And build their nests. Okay. But they're beautiful, aren't they? They're bright yellow underneath. Yeah. None of the times I hear, I've got a yellow wagtail. And you go, no, that's a grey. Yeah. I know it's got yellow on it, but that's a grey wagtail. The yellow wagtail migrate, they go down to Africa for the winter. Yeah. So they're one of the species that go entirely. Oh, here's some of your faggots. Yes. Well, your faggots. Did you put these ones in?
I didn't put these ones in, no. These, looking at the chalk here, this looks like quite a new addition. So we did have some of the Sparsholt guys out not that long ago, sort of back end of the summer. So I imagine this is their handiwork.
So what we've got, I'm standing on a bit of chalk. We've got the gravel of the path. I'm on a bit of chalky bit. There's a board. Yep. All the chalk's round behind the board. Yep. And they've got the faggot in front and wing.
Yes. Yeah. So we've backfilled with chalk, which will be naturally sourced chalk from Hampshire.
Yeah.
That means that it doesn't have anything nasty in it that can leach into the river. Then we use oak revetment boards. We use oak because they last longer. They've got they're harder, so they do last. And then to offset that kind of hard, sharp boarding, we then have the faggots in front within the river, within the water.
And that's the thing, because if it's just a board, there's very little places for any seeds to set or things to grow. Whereas in the faggots, there's already a bit of. Is this watercress?
It does look like it, yes.
So I think that you have to be careful for fool's watercress.
Yeah.
Which is a plant that looks similar, but I think that is actually watercress in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
People sometimes take this, but you do have to be careful with watercress grown in an area with sheep around, because you can get flukes, liver flukes from the sheep. So you've got to be a bit careful what you take. But also I can see, because the water's so gin clear, we're looking on the side stream at the moment, you can see there's plenty of weed down the bottom. There might be starwort, I think.
Yeah.
And part of the ability to grow down there is the fact they can still photosynthesize because the light gets through.
Yeah.
Beautiful water, isn't it? Almost feel you could drink it. You probably could. We talked about things about preparing for the winter, so like the birds grouping together. You know, some birds clearly, like some of the warblers and the yellow wagtails, they all disappear down south. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, it's maybe not that easy enough for us. I mean, get on a plane. But if you've got to fatten up and then physically fly that far, it's probably not that easy flying all the way to the other side of the Sahara.
No, absolutely not.
So there's different coping mechanisms, isn't there, for getting through the winter. One of them is clearly hibernation.
Yes.
Do you know much about hibernation?
I know a little bit. Not an expert though.
So do you know which animals hibernate? Sorry, it's not supposed to be a test. Actually, it's not that many mammals, maybe, that hibernate.
Snakes and lizards, they all hibernate.
Absolutely, and things like adders are well known for communal hibernation. Now, essentially, what they're doing is they go somewhere relatively safe and cool, and they reduce their body activity down to an absolute minimum. Down to about 5% of normal activity. Heartbeats reduce, temperature reduces, breathing reduces. They rely on sort of, because particularly for insect-eating species, not that most snakes are, but things like bats do, hedgehogs do. There's not a lot of insects out, is there?
No.
Through the winter. So they just go into a torpor. They'll find somewhere. You can have big communal roosts. I mean, there's on Stoke Canal, that's one of our sites, there's Greywell Tunnel, which is quite a long tunnel, but part of it's collapsed. So it's like a blind cave, which is fantastic because it's very stable temperature in there. And it's some of the biggest bat roosts in Europe are in this place. So they reduce their heart rate and slow everything right down. And that's how they get through the winter. They might wake up now and then. I mean, I was as a bird watcher, I traditionally go out on New Year's Day and try and see, because you start a New Year list, try and see whatever you can on the first year. Yeah. It gets you out after Christmas, that's to be said. And actually, there's a bridge just further up from here where I stopped. It was about midday. I was trying to look for some water birds. So I noticed this bat flying around. Midday on New Year's Day.
A little bit out of season.
A little bit out of season, yeah. It was quite mild, but they will naturally wake up, have a bit of move around. Oh, it's kingfisher.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it interrupted ourselves there. The kingfisher just shot past. And people, quite often, depends which way they're up, think they're either orange or blue. We saw the blue back, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Not the orange belly. Yeah, so bats hibernate, hedgehogs, and dormouse.
Yes.
Now, dormouse, it's in the name, dor, as in sleep meow, dormer. I think it's French, isn't it, dormer?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and it's sleepy mouse, basically. And they spend quite a proportion of the year hibernating.
Yeah.
And there is it's all related to a thing called diapause. So you can have summer hibernations as well. Most people think winter hibernation.
Yeah.
But in the summer, as things get dry, particularly this summer, quite a lot of trees, particularly young ones, they started going brown and looking like they were dead.
Yeah.
Well, that's a normal reaction. There's just not enough water, it's too much heat stress. Okay, I'll retract everything in and save my energy when it's wetter again and I can grow my leaves again. Yeah. So there is the equivalent of summer hibernation.
Oh, I learned something new there. I didn't know that.
And actually, clearly, with the leaves falling off the trees, they're doing the same thing in the winter, aren't they?
Yeah, they're preparing themselves.
So we're walking out on a right of way at the moment.
Yeah.
This is a footpath.
It is indeed.
So you can walk on it, clearly.
Yeah, you can walk on it.
You're allowed to take what they call normally a compliment, don't they?
Yes, yes. So that would include a dog.
Yeah. But would it include a fishing rod if I wanted to fish here?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably not, no.
No.
But if there's fishing rights on here and you're here because you're allowed to fish,
yes,
then that's a different story.
Yeah. But you can cycle on a bridleway and a byway, can't you?
Yeah, but you can't cycle on here. You can if you've got landowner's permission, but if you were cycling on here without landowner's permission, it would be classed as trespass. And
clearly, as we're getting further, I mean, the clock's changed a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
Much darker. Darkness descends far more quickly. Is there any safety considerations, do you think?
Yeah, so before you go out, make sure you tell someone where you're going and rough times for when you're going to be back. You might even want to do check-ins whilst you're out and about, just to say where you've got to. Also, make sure that you're not still walking when it's dark.
Or carry a torch.
But ideally get back before it's dark. Also, if you can, take a phone with you so you can make contact if something does happen. And also for those check-ins. And most importantly, make sure you've got a map with you.
And actually, I've got an app on my phone, which is the Ordnance Survey mapping.
Yeah, I use the same thing.
Yeah. And actually, also very useful is an app called What 3 Words.
Yes, What 3 Words is amazing. So that then gives you an exact place of where you are. It gives you some very funky 3 words for the location. They can be very random, but then you can then give that to emergency services or someone to be able to find you, and it pins it right down as well. So
to 10 square metres, isn't it?
Yeah, 10 square metres. So you can it's much easier to find someone. We now use it a lot of the time for when we get reports in. A lot of people will give those
because you said, did you say it's footpath 12?
18.
18. If I wouldn't know that. I probably wouldn't know which parish I'm in.
Yeah.
I might go, I stop by the pub up the road. I can't remember what the name of the pub is.
Yeah.
But I've seen something on the radio the other day where this woman was having a severe asthma attack, and she called 99 and they sent her a link, and she clicked on it and it immediately gave them the What 3 Words. And they say it can be handbag, cheesecake, really, really random words.
Very random.
But the emergency services use it. So if anything happens, or if you're trying to pinpoint where maybe the revetment's collapsed or something, What 3 Words is a very useful tool for finding issues and finding people, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've seen quite a bit, haven't we? I think it's lovely here. It's a lovely little walk, and it's particularly right next to the chalk stream here. So I've really enjoyed meeting you out here today.
You too, Andy.
Yeah, and hopefully see you soon.
You too.
So, Andy, do you have a favourite walk?
I've actually got the Wayfarer's Walk right outside my door. I can literally step out of my back door straight onto the Wayfarer's Walk.
That's cool.
And that takes you into a lovely network right around the local parish, which is really enjoyable. I mean, this is lovely. I'll have to come here again.
Yeah.
It's a while since I've been here. It's only 10 minutes from my house. And it's amazing what you can find that close to your house.
It is. We have some great walks in Hampshire that take in all different types of landscapes. We are very lucky, aren't we?
Absolutely, yes. Did you notice the faggots down here, look?
I did.
What do you think of when you talk about faggots?
Food.
Food, yes, absolutely. But it's also, because they used to bundle these sticks up, it's all waste tips, twigs and stuff like that. And they used to burn them to heat bread ovens. So it's amazing, isn't it, what's the use they're being put to now?
Yeah. So, do you know how many miles we walk in an average lifetime, Andy?
Well, I think that's going to vary.
Yeah. Obviously, lots of people that sit in front of their computers and stuff don't walk, but this is an average. So how many steps do you reckon?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Miles,
I mean, I was listening to the radio this morning. They were suggesting we should be doing 20 to 30,000 a day. Now,
steps a day,
yeah, not miles. There's nowhere near I'm walking that far, but how many? What's the average?
So the average is 65,000 miles in somebody's lifetime. And that's equivalent to walking 3 times around the earth.
So I could have walked several times to Australia.
Well, you could say that, but you haven't. So
no,
you
I
can't
haven't. No, there's no way I have.
Some people have, though. So some people, but not many, have circumnavigated the globe by foot. But the rules for this are very, very stringent. And there are only around 14 people that have actually done that.
Well, strictly speaking, because if you were in Antarctica, you could walk around the pole, couldn't you?
Yeah.
That's
so
not round. That could be around the world.
So I hope you have all enjoyed this episode of Looking After Nature. We'd love to hear from you with any comments or thoughts, or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode, you can let us know by checking out our social media pages.
And we'd really appreciate it if you can rate and review our podcast on iTunes, as this helps other people find us. For now, thanks again for listening. I'm Andy Davidson.
And I'm Carly Harrod. See you next time.